Why? Because hypocrisy doesn't sell in Britain. You can't sue the press while running to them for sympathy. You can't cry for privacy while spilling every detail in a memoir. And you certainly can't call Britain unsafe while walking through Kiev with a reporter at your side. Ordinary people see through it and they don't forgive easily. And Charles? He's heartbroken, but pragmatic. He's endured decades of brutal press coverage himself, mocked for everything from his causes to his marriage. He knows what it means to be caricatured. But even he has limits, and those close to him say this may have been the moment he finally accepted the truth. His son cannot be trusted. Think about that. A father who just wanted an afternoon of family time now feels he was played. And palace aides, who begged him not to risk it, are quietly saying, "We told you so." And the press? They're thriving on the chaos, because every word Harry utters guarantees headlines. To some papers, he's the rebel prince exposing the establishment. To others, he's the spoiled duke, addicted to attention. But the result is the same. Endless stories, endless scrutiny, and Buckingham Palace is left cleaning up the mess. But here's the bigger danger, the part that keeps advisors awake at night. This isn't just about family anymore. It's about institutional stability. The monarchy survives on dignity, restraint, and unity. But Harry's endless cycle of revelations threatens all three. Every fresh interview tilts the balance. Every headline drags Charles's reign into the mud. And this is where the legacy question looms large. Charles waited longer than any heir in history to wear the crown. He spent decades pushing causes like the environment, interfaith dialogue, and architecture. Causes that once got him mocked, but now feel ahead of their time. He wanted his reign to be remembered for continuity and compassion. Instead, it risks being overshadowed by one man's rebellion, his own son. For William, the equation is colder. He doesn't have the luxury of endless reconciliation attempts. His role as heir demands discipline. And if that means drawing a hard line with his brother, so be it. Friends say the hurt is deep, but the calculation is clear. William cannot risk being dragged into Harry's cycle of betrayal. His credibility as future king depends on it. And here's the harsh truth no one in the palace says out loud, but everyone knows. The brothers who once symbolized hope for a modern monarchy are now symbols of division. Their bond, once envied worldwide, now lies shattered. So where does this leave us? Insiders believe reconciliation is no longer a path forward. It's a mirage. For Charles, Harry will always be family, but never again part of the institution. The risk is too great, the damage too deep. For William, the line is drawn. Loyalty to the crown comes first. And for the public, the verdict seems final. Sympathy has evaporated, replaced by suspicion. The more Harry speaks, the less people trust him. Which brings us to the looming question, the one nobody dares ask in public. How much longer can this fragile balancing act continue? How long before the monarchy, forced to defend itself from one of its own, finally breaks ranks and shuts the door for good? So here's where I turn it over to you. Is this really the end of any chance of reconciliation? Or do you believe Charles's heart might win out over palace politics one last time? Drop your thoughts below. I'll be looking for your comments. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe, because the royal saga is only getting messier from here, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. What if I told you that behind Buckingham Palace's grand gates, a quiet storm is brewing that could permanently sever the fragile bond between King Charles and his son, Prince Harry? What if I told you that one single tea meeting, yes, just a private cup of tea, has spiraled into a scandal shaking the monarchy at its core? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why insiders are calling this the final straw for Harry, and why William may never forgive him. For decades, King Charles has been seen as the patient monarch, a man who bides his time, who believes diplomacy can smooth over even the deepest cracks. But patience has its limits, and according to palace whispers, Harry just burned through the very last of his father's goodwill. Here's what happened. Charles wanted something simple, an intimate reunion with his estranged son. No cameras, no journalists, no leaks. Just tea at Clarence House, father and son, away from the headlines. It was a risk, yes, but Charles, facing illness and the pressure of age, believed it was worth it. A chance for family to feel like family again. But what the king didn't expect was betrayal. Swift, cold, and all too familiar. Because almost as soon as that tea was poured, Harry carried every detail into the arms of the press. Not just any press, either. He chose The Guardian, a publication seen by the palace as unusually sympathetic to him and Meghan. And within hours, what was meant to be a private healing moment had been broadcast across headlines worldwide. Now, let's pause here. If you were in Charles's shoes, trying to reconcile with your son while battling illness, how would you feel knowing your trust was broken yet again? That's the question eating away at Buckingham Palace tonight. The king had made it clear. No leaks, no interviews, and Harry promised discretion. But instead, the Guardian piece included shocking comments about Charles's health, talk of annual reunions, and hints that Meghan and the children could soon rejoin royal gatherings. To palace staff, it wasn't reconciliation, it was exploitation. And here's where the anger boils over. Advisors who had warned Charles not to risk it now feel vindicated. They'd said this would happen, that every private gesture of goodwill would be turned into content for Harry's never-ending narrative. And when they saw the headlines, they weren't surprised. They were exhausted. Think about that for a second. You are the King of England. You're battling cancer. You want nothing more than to see your grandchildren and share peace with your son. Instead, you get painted as fragile, as though your reign is already on its last breath. For Charles, this wasn't compassion, it was humiliation. And that's not all, because the very next move Harry made sent shockwaves across the monarchy. Instead of laying low, instead of keeping dignity after the Clarence House debacle, Harry boarded a plane, straight to Ukraine. Now, you heard that right. A man who has repeatedly said he doesn't feel safe visiting his own homeland walked straight into a war zone. And he did it with a Guardian reporter right at his side. To critics in Britain, it was pure theatre, ego-driven, performative, a chance for Harry to cosplay as a working royal while striding through a conflict zone with cameras following his every move. The symbolism was clear. Harry wanted the world to see him shaking hands with officials, looking brave, looking noble, like the frontline prince once adored. But here's the problem. He gave up that role. And to William especially, this looked like a mockery. William, the dutiful heir, has always played the long game. Discipline, duty, loyalty to the institution. So imagine how he feels watching his brother pose in war zones, acting like a statesman, while trashing the monarchy in interviews. Insiders say William's fury has reached a breaking point. What he sees isn't bravery. He sees cosplay. He sees a man addicted to the spotlight, clinging to the trappings of royalty without any of the responsibility. And the hypocrisy? It stings even more. Harry sues the press one day, then runs to them the next. He says he craves privacy, then publishes memoirs filled with intimate details. He warns about security risks at home, then strolls through Kiev like he's on a royal tour. This double standard is why so many in Britain have stopped believing a single word Harry says. But here's where the real damage lands. For Charles, Harry's Guardian interview carried one comment that cut deepest. Harry talked about focusing on his father's health. Sounds innocent, right? Wrong. Because to Charles, it came across as patronising, almost like Harry was talking down to him, treating his reign like it was already a countdown clock. And for a man raised under Prince Philip's steel example, that wasn't compassion, it was cruelty. And the fallout? Immediate. Any hope of Harry slipping back into a part-time royal role, 4 or 5 visits a year, half in, half out, has been firmly crushed. The late Queen had ruled against that long ago, and Charles has now reaffirmed it. The door is shut. Permanently. And it gets even more brutal. Public sentiment toward Harry has cratered so badly that palace advisors now warn, putting him on royal duty would risk open humiliation. Booing crowds. Empty support. One insider even joked, though it wasn't really a joke, that Prince Andrew might get a warmer reception. That's how far Harry's reputation has fallen. So where does that leave things? We're looking at a monarchy under siege, not from enemies abroad, but from a wayward son whose every word becomes ammunition. Palace staff spend days putting out fires from one man's decisions. Exhaustion hangs in every corridor, and the whispers now are grim. Maybe reconciliation isn't just unlikely. Maybe it's impossible. And yet, this story is only half complete. Because the true stakes here aren't just family drama, they go much deeper. We're talking about the monarchy's survival itself, the credibility, the dignity, the very image of stability that has carried it for centuries. And in part 2, we'll uncover why advisors now believe Harry isn't just a rogue prince, but a direct threat to the crown's future. So, what do you think? Did Charles make a mistake even meeting Harry? Was this betrayal inevitable? Or could things have gone differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm reading all of them. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because part 2 will dive even deeper into William's rage, the monarchy's fears, and the question no one dares to answer publicly. How much longer before something breaks completely? If you thought the Clarence House betrayal was bad, wait until you see what happened next. Because this saga isn't just about a fractured father-son relationship anymore. Insiders say Prince Harry's actions have crossed into something far more dangerous, a direct challenge to the monarchy itself. And the most furious voice behind palace walls? His brother, Prince William. Let's set the scene. For King Charles, the meeting with Harry wasn't just symbolic. It was deeply personal. He's a man fighting cancer, trying to balance state visits, constitutional duties, and the heavy reality of age. Above all, he wanted a moment of normalcy, a private conversation with his son. But instead of healing, he got headlines. And it's those headlines that haunt the palace. Because once Harry's words landed in print, they weren't just about family squabbles. They were about the king's health, his mortality, and his supposed plans for annual reunions. That kind of speculation doesn't just embarrass Charles, it destabilizes the monarchy's image. Think about it. When the king is painted as frail, when his reign is framed as short-term, it shakes the confidence of the institution itself. And that's exactly what William cannot stand. Sources close to the heir say his patience has evaporated. For years, William tried to shield the monarchy from Harry's outbursts, quietly enduring the memoirs, the interviews, the Netflix deals. But this crossed a line. because it's no longer about family loyalty. It's about the survival of the crown. William has always been the cautious one, the disciplined heir. But now, insiders say he's furious. Watching Harry parade through Ukraine with cameras trailing behind him as though he's still a working royal was too much. William reportedly sees it as Harry cosplaying royal duty, playing Prince when it suits him, abandoning it when it doesn't. And to someone preparing to be king, that's infuriating. Here's the irony that drives William mad. Harry wanted out. He wanted freedom. Yet every time he steps in front of a camera, every time he shakes hands with foreign leaders, he leans on the very system he walked away from. You can't reject the monarchy and then perform as if you're still part of it. But that's exactly what Harry does. And here's where the palace's patience finally breaks. Because reconciliation isn't just about feelings anymore. It's about credibility. If Harry can't be trusted to keep a single tea conversation private, how could he ever represent the crown again? Imagine him cutting a ribbon on behalf of Britain, then recounting the entire exchange on a podcast the next week. The risk is simply too high. And so advisors are unanimous. There will be no half-in, half-out arrangement, no royal role, no shared duties. That door is sealed, permanently. But the damage isn't just internal. Public reaction paints an even grimmer picture. Polls show Harry's popularity in Britain has collapsed to historic lows. Crowds that once adored him now respond with indifference, or outright hostility. And here's the brutal comparison palace aides whisper about. Prince Andrew, disgraced as he is, might actually receive a warmer welcome than Harry. That's how far the once beloved spare has fallen.